You just keep pressing. Oh, not here. We don't have one. Not here. We don't have one. All right, like we do most days. Quick review. 30 in radians. Pi over 6. How about 45? Pi over 4. 60. Pi over 3. Had 90. Pi over 2. 80. 180. What is it? Just pi. 270. 3 pi. Yep. 3 halves pi. 3 pi over 2 and 360. 2 pi. All right, there we go. Just a quick review. They're going to come up more and more. Review from yesterday. If we're on the unit circle, the cosine is what coordinate? X coordinate. Yep. And sine is y coordinate. Before I leave this page, that's not how you. 2 O's or 2 R's? 2 O's. We're going with it. Before I leave this page, at 30, what's the deal? What's the coordinate at 30? We just had this, right? Radical 3 over 2, 1/2. At 45, radical 2 over 2's. And at 60, radical 3 over 2. All right, so yesterday, we did sine and cosine for these three. Here's what I'm going to do today. Sine and cosine for the rest of them. Only thing that changes? The signs. It's the only thing that's going to change today. I'm not doing anything new. Well, actually, at the end I am, but as far as x, x is the cosine, y is the sine, and knowing these here, the only thing that's going to change is I'm going to put a negative in front instead. So let's talk first about, depending on what quadrant we're in, is sine and cosine going to be negative or positive? Let's start there. All right, so if I'm in quadrant 1, what do you know about all the coordinates, the x and the y coordinates in quadrant 1? They're both positive. So if I asked you to find the sine or a cosine of any angle in quadrant 1, it's going to be what type of number? What did you just tell me about the x and the y coordinates? They're both positive, right? So the sine of 20, sine of 58, sine of 60, they're all going to be positive because the y coordinates are positive. And then what if I find the cosine of any angle? Cosine of 50, cosine of 2 degrees, cosine of 10 degrees. Answer is going to be also positive. So sine and cosine are both positive in the first. Now let's change the game up. Let's go to the second quadrant. Think about the second quadrant. Do you think the sine would be positive or negative in the second quadrant? Y, ready? What coordinate sine? X or Y? Y. What do you know about the y coordinates in quadrant 2? So sine will always be positive in quadrant 2. What about cosine? What do you think? Cosine? Cosine will be negative in the second quadrant, always, because the x values are negative. Ooh, third. Everyone move your mind to the third.
All negative.
What do you know about x and y in the third? X's are negative, and the y's are negative. So what do I know about sine and cosine in the third? Both negative. Yes, they'll always be negative in the third quadrant. And just so you know, I have a feeling that we're not picking up here what I'm throwing down. So just let me show you real quick what I'm talking about. Somebody, while this is loading up, somebody give me an angle in the third quadrant. Any angle in the third quadrant? 210. All right, so when this loads up here, or you can do it on your calculator as well, do the sine of 210. Everyone go ahead, sine of 210 on your calculator. I don't care what it's equal to, but what is it, positive or negative? It's negative, that's what I mean. Do the cosine of 210. It's also negative. That's what I mean by being positive and negative. So what do you think is going to happen in the fourth quadrant? Think about your signs in the fourth quadrant. What do you think about sine, positive or negative? Negative because the y coordinates are negative. And what about cosine? Positive. Good. All right, so how am I going to remember all this? Because it is tough to say, okay, y coordinate is sine. What about the y coordinate? So I have a little device for you to figure out when sine and cosine are positive. All right, draw yourself 4 quadrants right now. Draw yourself an XY axis off to the side. All right, that you make 4 quadrants of. I'm going to give you guys a little device to remember this for now when sine and cosine are positive. Ready? A in the first quadrant. S in the second quadrant. T in the third quadrant. C in the fourth. Ready? All students take classes. That's how I remember what goes there. All students take classes. Now, what do these letters mean? In the first quadrant, why did I have you put an A? All are positive in the first quadrant. Like that, Mike? All are positive in the first. Second quadrant, what's the only thing that's positive? What stands for S? Did somebody just say sin? What's positive in the second quadrant? Sine. Now, we haven't gone down this road, but we will next week. T for, anybody remember SOHCAHTOA? What was T? Tangent. All right, we'll worry about that later on. But tangent is the only thing positive in the third, meaning sine and cosine have to be negative. And then the C means what's positive in the fourth? Cosine. All students take classes. Sine is positive in the second, cosine positive in the fourth. If you want to come up with another device, all students take classes, go right ahead. I've heard many, many different versions in the past, many inappropriate versions. All right, but you can, however you want to do it there. I just remember all students take classes. We okay on how to use this? Okay, so let's go through these angles right now. I want to know what quadrant we're in and if it's positive or negative. I don't want to know that value. I just want to know if it's positive or negative. Sine of negative 2 pi over 3. Oh boy. Can we convert this real quick? Ready? Pi over 3? 60 times 2. So this will be the sine of negative 120. With me still? Many of you could probably find the quadrant there, but you probably want to do what? Make it positive? Makes it easier to find the quadrant when it's positive. All right, let me start calling on people. How do I make negative 120 positive? 4. How do I make negative 120 positive? Add 360. Go ahead. Negative 120 plus 360. This is the same as 240. Yep. So this is the same. All three. Take a look. In radians, negative degree, positive degree. All three are the same. Where's 240? So I know what quadrant I'm in. 247. What quad am I in?
You're in quadrant
3. Now I want to know, is it positive or negative? Quadrant 3. There it is. I got a T there. What do you know about sine in quadrant 3? Positive or negative? Sine in quadrant 3. Positive or negative? 8. Well, so sine's negative. There you go. And you can check it on your calculator too. If you're unsure, sine of 240. Sine 240. Negative. Done. All right. Let's keep going. 117. I don't have to change a darn thing. What quadrant am I in? 11. What quad am I in? Second quad. What do I know about cosine in the second quadrant? Positive or negative? Cosine, second quadrant. 13, positive or negative? Negative. Stop me if you want me to explain why. Negative in the second quadrant. Negative 87. What quad am I in? You can change it on your own if you want. I'm not going to change it anymore, though. Change it on your own. What quadrant am I in? 3. What quad am I in? Negative 87. Quadrant 4. Going clockwise. What do I know about sine in quadrant 4? Positive or negative? Relax. 2. Negative. Only cosine's positive in the fourth quadrant. 460. Do what you want with it. I'm keeping it 460. You do what you want with it. I got to figure out that myself here. Minus that. Yep, I got it. What quadrant am I in? 8. What quad? Second quadrant. Good. Sine in the second quadrant. Positive or negative? 9. Positive. There you go. We finally got a positive. Cosine pi over 6. Convert it. Convert it if you need to. Pi over 6. Pi over 6. What was it? Look back. Look back. I just want to know the quad. I don't need to convert it for me. What's quadrant am I in? 8? 1. Yeah. Easy answer here. What do you know about cosine in quadrant 1? 9? Positive. Everything's positive in quadrant 1. How you guys feeling, all right? We all good? Seeing if it's positive or negative. Okay, let's keep going now. Now I'm going to give you 2 facts, and I want you to tell me what quadrant I'm in. I'm only going to be in 1 quadrant, not 2, not 3, only 1 quadrant only. All right, cosine, anybody remember this symbol here? That's what?
Theta.
Greater, no, okay, theta, you got me there. I was looking for the next one. Cosine of the angle is what? Greater than 0. Hey, greater than 0, that's just a fancy way of saying it's what? Positive, right? Greater than 0, it's positive. That's all that's saying. So we're saying cosine is positive, and sine is, what's that symbol? Less than. Fancy way of saying negative. So we need to do a little detective work here. Where is cosine positive, but at the same quadrant, sine would be negative? Don't yell anything out. Okay? I'm looking for the one and only one quadrant where cosine is positive, but at the same time, sine's negative. Everyone see what I'm asking before I ask somebody? Where is cosine positive, but at the same time, sine is negative? What quadrant am I in right now? 11? Quadrant 4. There you go. It's the only place where cosine's positive and sine's negative at the same time. And then what about 12? Sine is greater than 0, positive. Cosine also positive at the same time. You don't have to put this, but just making sure we're good. Where are both positive at the same time? 6. Both of these positive at the same time. Yeah, right? Both are going to be positive in the first. Only time. You guys are doing nice, nice. Questions? Because here's where we all wrap it in now. All right, let's see how good we really are. Any questions from you guys? All right, this is what I'm going to ask on one of the questions on the quiz tomorrow, FYI. Using our unit circle diagram, there's 2 parts. Write an equivalent trigonomic function. All right, let me stop there because that's a mouthful. Right here, trigonomic function. I want sine or cosine. Okay, in your answer, sine or cosine with a positive acute angle. What's that mean? Positive acute angle. Your angle's got to be what?
Less than 90.
Darn right it does. Less than 90. And then I want you to find the exact value of it. Okay, so it's 2 parts. Rewrite it using sine, cosine, but with an angle less than 90. And then find the value. You ready, sir? We ready? Because this gets me all jacked up. This is basically wrapping everything we've done so far up. Sine of 300. I want to rewrite it, but with an angle less than 90. Wait, I think I've heard that before. Angle less than 90? We've got a vocabulary term for that, don't we? Angle less than 90. What have we been referring to that as?
Is it a reference angle?
The reference angle. Yes, that's basically what I'm looking for here. First of all, wait, whoa, sine of 300. What quadrant am I in?
4.
4. What do you guys know about sine in the 4th quadrant? Positive or negative? Sine in the 4th quadrant. Okay, so I need to start this out with negative sine because it's negative in the 4th quadrant. Can you take 300 and turn it into an angle less than 90? What am I asking you to find again? It's what? Reference angle. We've had a lot of practice with that. So take a minute right now. 300. Don't yell anything out. Reference angle for 300. Close. Ready? Let's see how close Mr. Smith is here. Reference angle for 300. 10? 60. Good. We're in the double digits ballpark, right?
I was there. I was close.
Yep.
Covered the spread.
Good. Go to your calculators now. Watch. Do sine of 300. You got that value in there? Do negative. Ready? Negative sine of 60. What do you notice? Okay, so we did it right. Okay, we did it right. We wrote it in sine, and then what's this? Less than 90. We good? Okay, now that was part A. Now, what's the exact value of it? This is what we did yesterday. 60. Where is it on the unit circle? Oh boy, 60. Think 60. Everyone got the coordinate in your mind? Relax. Somebody got the coordinate in your mind? What is it? 1/2 radical 3 over 2. Which one do I want if I'm finding sine? This is like the last 3 days wrapped into one problem. Do I want the x or the y if I'm finding sine? The y. So it's going to be radical 3 over 2, but what did you have in front? There you go. Questions there?
A lot.
You need.
Can I talk to him for like 30 seconds?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, you never stop, so I was waiting for a natural pause. Hey, so some of you in here are coming in very late to school, like a lot. Okay. So if you are one of those folks, you need to start changing your morning routine to get here on time. 7:41 is considered late. Be in your seats by 7:40, ready to go. We even give you the extra 5 minutes of homeroom to get to class because we know it's a kind of a mess out there. All right. So it's now November. Parking lot's no longer an excuse. Wake up 5 extra minutes early, get here. This is kind of like your warning as a group. If you get 5, 10, 15 lates, I have to start giving restricted study halls, take away privileges, and things like that. I don't want to chase you around for lates because you can't get up 3 extra minutes early. Okay? So if you are one of those folks that already has exceeded the late policy, you're going to have a warning in Aspen that just says, we talked, and this is our talk. Fair enough? Now we everyone heard the same message. Okay? All right. Thank you, Mr. Carlino.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Take care. All right, okay, we good? Any questions? I know that was the first one, doesn't make you great. Ready for another one? Cosine 210. And again, I'm telling you, it's the first question on the pop quiz tomorrow. All right, except I changed cosine and sine, and I changed the angles. 210. First thing, rewrite it now. Rewrite it. First, think to yourself, 210. Where's 210 at? Quadrant 3. So I'm doing cosine. So what do you know about cosine in quadrant 3? Positive or negative? Negative. Talk to me if you don't know why it's negative. So it's going to be negative cosine. Now I need it as an acute angle, though. 210 as an acute angle. Go to your calcs. You're in quad 3. Find the reference angle.
30.
You're killing me. You're killing me. 30. And just be on the safe side, go to your calculator. Is cosine of 210 the same value as negative cosine of 30? Yes, it is. So I'm looking at your calculators now, right? We did the right thing. So there's part A. Part B now is, what's the actual value of that? So go to 30 on the unit circle. Go to 30 on the unit circle. Everyone got that coordinate? Writing it down or thinking of it in your mind? Which one do I need, the x or the y in this problem? Why the x? Why are you saying x? You're doing cosine. That's what we did yesterday. Cosine is the x coordinate, which would be negative radical 3 over 2. How we doing on time? Okay. All good. Okay. Let's go here. Cosine negative 30. Oh, well, I'm done. It's already less than 90, right? It's already acute. No. Between 0 and 90. Can't be negative. You probably want to do what here first? Change it? Yeah, I don't blame it. I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to change it into positive before we start. Cosine of. Go ahead, cosine. What's the oh, never mind. No, that's right. I don't want you yelling out. What's the positive version here? 5. What's my positive version? Cosine of 330. All right, now we can handle this. 330, what quad am I in? Because I got to figure out if this is going to be positive or negative. 4, what do you know about cosine in quadrant 4? It's positive. So remember I put a negative sign out in front? I don't need it now. Do you see why? Because it's going to be positive. So cosine, now I got to write it as an acute angle. Cosine of, what's the reference angle for 330? 7? 30. So cosine of 30. There's my first part. And if you guys want to check. Is the cosine of negative 30 the same as cosine of positive 30? And in your calculator, it will be. Now I just got to figure out, what is it equal to? You guys got 30 in your mind, the coordinate at 30? Do you need the x or the y here? The x coordinate, which would be radical 3 over 2. Keeping it positive, right? I didn't turn that into negative, so. We okay? Because I'm going to go down a different path now. Any issues? Doing the pot. Oh, you see how it was 2 parts? Because these same 2 parts are going to be asked on question number 1 tomorrow. Write it as an acute angle, but make sure you got your negative out in front depending on what quadrant you're in. And hey, look, use your darn calculator to check real quick. Do I want the sloppy decimals that are coming out? No, but at least you can check if you're doing it correctly or not. Easy check. All right, so that'll be on there tomorrow, and this will be on the quiz tomorrow. It's problem number 2. Using what we're going to call the Pythagorean identity. Where'd you have heard this word before, Pythagorean? Pythagorean theorem, which was what? What's the Pythagorean theorem? A squared plus B squared equals C squared, right? If we're on the unit circle, what's the hypotenuse length every time? What's the hypotenuse length every time? C, well, C, and then if we're on the unit circle, how long is it? 1 unit, right? So that's why that's 1. You had A and B, X and Y I'm going to turn it into, but what's the X coordinate on the unit circle? The same as what value? The X coordinate is, okay, so that's why you're going to see cosine now instead of X. And then what's the Y value? That's why you're going to see sine. Now, I'm just trying to show you where it comes from. All right, so here's your Pythagorean identity. Cosine all squared plus sine all squared equals 1. Ready? I got an angle. This is alpha, if anybody's wondering. Same as theta, beta. Falls in what quadrant? What quadrant am I in here? Second. Keep that in the back of your mind. I may come back to that. We know the sine is 3/5. What's the cosine? Okay, so sine is 3/5. What's the cosine? We're going to use our Pythagorean identity to find out. Okay. What are we looking for again? The value of cosine. All right, so I'm going to leave cosine, cosine. So we're going to say cosine. Everyone see how it has theta in there? Well, we have a new angle. It's beta, so I'm just going to replace it with that little new Greek symbol there. Squared plus, do I know the value of sine? What's the value of sine? So that I'm just going to literally plug it in for sine. 3/5, but I have to do what here on the outside? Read the identity. Square it equals 1. Now I got to get cosine all by itself because that's what it wants me to solve for. Guys got calculators? Right? What's 3/5 all squared? Hopefully you guys can leave it as a fraction for me.
9/25.
9/25 equals 1. What do you want to do on each side? Subtract what?
9/25.
Okay, move the fraction over, everyone. Subtract it because I'm trying to get cosine by itself. Minus 9/25. So I have what left? Cosine alpha squared equals, gotta have practice on your calculator, 1 minus that. 1 minus 9/25. I don't feel bad because everyone's calculator can handle this. 1 minus 9 25ths would be 16 25ths. Yep. Almost there. Almost there.
Square root it.
Now to get rid of the squared, I take the square root of both sides. Nothing new. That gets rid of the squared, so I'm just left with cosine alpha, which I need, which I was asked to solve for. Square root of 16 over 25. What is it? 4/5. So cosine equals 4/5. But now we're going to have an awkward staring contest until somebody tells me what's wrong.
Not bad. Is it supposed to be negative?
What's up, big dog?
Is it supposed to be negative?
I got Ryan up here saying, isn't it supposed to be negative? What did we just find the value of? Cosine. Go back to the problem. What quadrant are we living in? What did you learn about cosine in the second quadrant today? It's always what? Yeah, so 4/5 should be negative. Yes, we got to watch out for that. Because keep in mind, when you take the square root of anything, you guys always knew you're left with a positive and a negative version, right? A positive and a negative. Everyone understand why it's only the negative? Because I'm in quadrant 2 and finding cosine. Cosine quadrant 2 together equals a negative value. So I just got to keep that in mind that it's going to be negative. Questions there? All right, so if you have sine or if you have one and looking for the other, and yes, I will give this to you tomorrow in the problem. Okay, I will give that to you tomorrow. That's nothing you have to memorize. I will put that right on the pop quiz. All right, I'm going to end it here because we're not going to have time for the next one. Got to practice if we want to do well tomorrow on the pop quiz. Again, hey, I'm telling you what's on it. One of these problems, like exercise 2, rewrite it with a positive acute angle, then find the value, and then one using the Pythagorean identity. Everything is covered on the assignment tonight. I'll take questions first thing tomorrow. And I'll be here after school or during my free periods if you want. Got to practice it, though.
Thank you, Mr. Carl.
Yep, plug it back in for me.
Yep.